Like and subscribe. Send me an email. It's music time with Nick. Whoa. Okay, we're rocking immediately, aren't we? And that's because we find ourselves in rock lesson 1. What is he talking about? What does rock music even mean? Here, let's check our sound here. Oh, that's nice. Everything sounded nice. Pretty again. Oh, wait, which can be rockin' too. Whoa, we're going to get there, people. Okay, so what are we talking about? Rock music. How to play rock, okay, is a question that I've been thinking about for years and years. It's my favorite subject. And so I wanted to make this video series about what it means to play rock music in this day and age, because I think it's confusing. I really do think it's confusing. There's so much information out there, right? Once YouTube or whatever you're watching me on finds out that you like rock music, they're like, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? And you'll be seeing all kinds of videos about all sorts of different concepts. So I wanted to present to you my notion of rock music, okay? And so, I was kind of being self-critical. I said, well, what am I going to talk about? So I compared my thoughts against Hal Leonard's publication, Rock Guitar. Okay, so I used this as sort of a little bit of a basis for something to jump off of. Okay, it's written by a gentleman named Michael Mueller. And there's some good stuff in there, but I know that there were some things in there that I might have glossed over or not really understood, or some bits that I thought were maybe like, we don't need to deal with this. So I thought, I really wanted to base something off of this. Okay, and so that's going to be our first lesson coming up. Okay, now the first thing I want to say here is that if this, you may have been led to believe that rocking is easy in comparison to other forms of music. Okay, it's not. Okay, it is tricky and requires a different focus. Okay, and so I'm going to be jumping right in here. Okay, so if you're not used to playing chords, well, I'll just put it like this. I'm expecting you to be able to play some chords, basic open string chords in this, and maybe have some experience sitting comfortably with the guitar. Basically, I'm assuming that you're acquainted with the guitar. You've maybe read a little tablature, you've read some chord charts and things like that, and we're gonna jump right in. Okay, if the guitar is totally new to you, hey, write to me. I want to be your music teacher, right? So like, let me know, and we can set up some Zoom lessons, or if you live in Toronto, I'm here. Okay, so anyways, let's jump right into this. What is he even talking about? What is this rock business? Okay, so this was our buddy Michael Mueller's first example of what rock is. And I was like, hey, Michael, I totally agree with you. This is what rock is. So okay, I'm gonna play it as written, and we'll see if we can agree that this sounds rock. Okay, let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I did a little bit of a retardando at the end there. I slowed it down, okay? So I think that sounds really rockin'. I know I wasn't distorted or anything, but it sounded rockin' to me, okay? So what do I even mean? Well, when we're first learning guitar, we tend to learn chords that belong together, that kind of, that are part of a similar key, okay? So for instance, like G, E minor, maybe this easy, nice C, and then a D. Right? There's so many songs that go like that, right? Oh, sorry, I missed the E minor. Oh, a new song was formed. Okay? So those chords, they sound nice. The chords in this rock example do not necessarily make sense. Well, but they kind of do, okay? But for instance, E major and G major we do not see them in the same key. They contain notes that kind of like rub against each other. For instance, E contains the note G sharp. Usually we don't have G sharp and G in the same key, okay? So that it makes it a little bit surprising. And the same thing is true of A major and C major. A major contains C sharp and C contains C, right? So it's a little bit surprising when we hear this. So this is what I'm saying with rock. The harmony does not have to make sense. The rhythm has to make sense. Lesson 1. The rhythm is the most important thing here, okay? And I think that is what I would have missed in Michael Mueller's book, is that, okay, you got to play these chords, but it's the only thing that matters here is the rhythm. Okay, that's what pulls us through a rock song. Okay, I learned this in jazz. Like jazz is all about momentum. That's how come people can play crazy solos in jazz music, and it works, and our ears are cool with it, or maybe they're not. Our ears are cool with it because it's just this relentless rhythmic, bounce to it. Right? It sounds great, and the same is true of rock. Okay, so what we have here is I've written 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus. That is the rhythm. Now it's not plus, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I want when I strum it to sound like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's what I want the sound to be. I know that when I was reading music first or playing rock, I was just like, where are my fingers going? I'm going to hit these things. Yeah, I'm going to hit these strings, right? I wasn't thinking anything about rhythm, but I should have been, okay? And so the next thing that maybe we need to talk about is, see how there's a little table above my first E chord there, my E major chord? That means downstroke. And you see the little V? That means upstroke, unsurprisingly, okay? So I'm supposed to go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. That's what it wants me to do, and that's why it sounds good. Okay, it's because I'm plowing straight through these things. Now, there's something else going on here that you may or may not have noticed. I changed the G. That's right, I took creative license and I changed the G. I didn't play this G. I played this G. Interesting. Why would he play this one instead of this one? I mean, they sound very similar. Well, it's another thing I learned at jazz school is that they use these things called substitutions. Okay? So substitution is where I just change the chord as per my own taste. Okay? I'm allowed. Creative license, right? I'm being creative here. I'm playing guitar, so I'm allowed to be creative. Now, why did I make that choice? Well, the key thing about this lesson series will be my intention to rock. I want to be rocking, people. When I'm playing, I want it to look like I'm having as much fun as, I'm having so much fun when I play. Like I'm having fun right now. I'm just playing these basic chords, right? I'm loving it, right? So I want to be rocking out. And rocking out is not easy, okay? You have to do a little bit of thinking before you can commence rocking, okay? So I picked to do this G for maybe reasons that just became clear to you if you notice the way that I use my fingers there. Look, I went from E to G, and I did not move my middle finger. Okay, that's a note that they have in common. Okay, and that's a big deal to me because if I have to change all my fingers like this, like Mr. Mueller wanted me to, he wanted me to do this big jump. I'm going to have to take my fingers off the fretboard. I might have to look down. Okay, and that means I'm going to stop reading crowd, or I'm going to start reading maybe I forget the lyrics. I want to leave as little to guess as possible. Okay, I don't want to look down where I don't have to. Okay, and here, if I can connect those chords, I'm going to do it. Okay, I'm going to change it. It's not that big of a deal. But if you do think it's a big deal, well, then I guess you know what you got to practice. You're going to really have to practice this a lot. Okay, it's not as easy. Like I said, it's not easy. Okay, you're going to have to practice it a lot. But this, to me, allows me to keep in contact. Maybe I can, do the duck walk or jump off something while I'm playing this E to this. Okay, so that's going to be our first transition, right? It's all about transitions. Okay, so now I need to get from this G to this A. Okay, now there's no notes in common here. There's nothing in common, so I got to look for a commonality. What I notice is that, hey, it's my middle finger again. My middle finger is going to stay on the second fret there. It's just going to jump down, okay? So in my brain, I'm allowing my middle finger to kind of help my other fingers locate their positions, okay? I'm using my middle finger's relation, right? It's staying on the second fret, and then I'm locating the other guys, okay? It's all about that. We want our fingers to begin memorizing these distances between things, okay? And having a finger lead the charge, as it were, is a really good way to do that. Now, the other thing I will say is this. This A is maybe a tad unusual to you. Maybe your book or whoever was teaching you or whatever you've seen wants you to do this A. I don't want you to do that A. I found this A to be problematic. It can sound out of tune. It can sound buzzy because look at how far back my pointer finger has to be in order to jam everybody in here. Okay, it's so close to the metal, it can start sounding buzzy. It can start sounding out of tune. I have to press harder. I want you to try to use middle pointer ring finger. Okay? This is the one I really want you to try to do this. Okay? Push through on this one. Make that change. Okay? You'll see it feels better. It sounds better. And it will enable you to do things like this. Hi! See how I was able to jump from A to C, maintaining my middle finger's position? Again, I could be doing the duck walk. I could be looking out into the crowd while I'm doing this. That's my goal. Okay? So let's run through all these changes again, these chord changes, and really notice what I'm doing here, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Wicked. It's easy, right? Overwhelmingly in this example, it's my middle finger that's helping position my other fingers. Okay? So, one other thing that must be said is that, you know, some of my transitions are a little messy. You know, but you know what? To which I would respond, it's only rock and roll. But the musicologist in me says, I only really messed up the very last upstroke in each bar. Okay? And that last beat in the bar is malleable. Sometimes it's okay to have a bit of tension in that last beat because then there's going to be this nice relief when I get to the next chord, okay? And plus, like I said, the rhythm will pull us through. If the rhythm has been consistent, people, they're willing to accept a little bit of a chord mess, okay? So get used to making mistakes and fixing them. That's another thing that we're going to be thinking about a lot here. We're going to be thinking a lot about rocking out and ignoring mistakes, moving on, because I'm always adjusting, I'm always making little mistakes, and I'm always making little fixes. Okay, I'm present. That's the whole point of music. I want to be present, having fun. Okay, so one last thing that must be said, and this is where I'm going to chastise myself. There are no repeats in this figure. Most rock music is highly repetitive. Okay, it's just on a loop. Okay, it's part of like the trance state that rock music can kind of get us in, right? A lot of music does this, right? That's kind of part of what allows us to dance and maybe act, you know, silly or whatever, right? Is that we get kind of in this hypnotic state, right? So this figure has to be repeated. Okay, so once I get to that C, finish that C, I got to get back to E. Okay, it's not done. You've got to repeat any figure that we're going to do here. I want you to repeat, okay, in my series here. Okay, if it doesn't have repeats, assume that I want you to repeat it ad nauseum. Okay, or unless the song wants you to change. Okay, well, you got to do what the song says and what your ear says. So how do I get from C to E? Did you guys notice? There's not many notes in common. Well, there is. That's E. Okay, but I can't really maintain all my fingers' positions. So what I notice is that, look, my pointer finger and my middle finger, they're basically staying in the same shape. They're just changing strings. So I'm just going to jump them up in a uniform way to the next set of strings and use their position to help locate my ring finger. That's how I'm going to go from C to E. Okay? So, let's play the whole thing through twice. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, and... Okay, there are many subtle things going on there that maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't, about how I'm keeping that all together. Okay, and that's what we're going to be exploring in this video series. Okay, all these tiny little things that one must do, all these tiny little rock isms that you must observe in order to rock effectively. Okay, so that concludes lesson 1. Okay, this can take you a while. okay, to get these things under control. That's okay. It can take you a while. If you get frustrated doing this, look up some tab, look up some like little riff to play, do something else, but then come back to this and make sure you can play in it really clearly, really cleanly, and consistently with that rhythm, okay? That 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? So, lesson 1, over and out. Okay, I hope that was informative. I hope you got some new insight into this whole rock thing, okay? Like I said, if you're looking for lessons, if anything we hear was confusing, send me an email. Let's do a lesson, or, leave a comment. Say, hey, you left this out, okay? I would love to hear. I would love to hear from you guys, okay? This is my favorite subject, if it wasn't obvious. Okay, so anyways, see you in rock lesson 2.